When you take a photograph, the physics are, well, they're usually pretty straightforward. A flash goes off, light bounces off a subject, and then it hits a lens. But what if the light didn't bounce off the subject? What if the subject actually, what was the flash?
That is a million-dollar question today, isn't it?
It really is. So welcome to today's deep dive. Today we're looking at this fascinating cross-section of radiative physics, crystallographic dating, and advanced textual analysis surrounding the Shroud of Turin. It's just a quick disclaimer for you listening. We're strictly looking at the data and science here. We're not taking a side or endorsing any religious viewpoints, just, reporting on the wild hypotheses presented in these sources.
Yeah, and it really is a massive stack of data to unpack. I mean, the whole thing kicks off with a physical anomaly that, for a long time, completely baffled chemists.
Right, because the shroud has this faint photographic negative image of a man on it. But the coloration only penetrates, I think it's 200 nanometers into the topmost microscopic fibers. There's no paint, no dye.
None at all.
It's like lightly toasting the absolute microscopic surface of a marshmallow without melting the inside. I mean, how is that physically possible without contact?
Well, physicists eventually proposed something called the vacuum ultraviolet, or VUV billion-watt burst hypothesis. So to test this, researchers used these excimer short-pulse lasers to try and replicate that exact microscopic degradation.
Okay, and what did the lasers show?
They calculated that scaling their laser up to a full human body would require a directional burst of, 6 to 8 billion watts of radiation.
Wait, 6 to 8 billion watts?
Yeah, and all released in a fraction of a nanosecond.
But wouldn't that just completely vaporize the cloth?
It absolutely would, yeah, unless the energy was entirely light-based and completely stripped of destructive thermal heat, like a pure blinding flash of energy.
Wow, okay, billion-watt bursts sound incredibly cool, but I can't ignore the elephant in the room here. Isn't the famous 1988 radiocarbon tests already label the shroud as the 14th century medieval forgery?
They did, but that's where the physics of that massive energy burst come back into play. So if a transphysical burst of that magnitude occurs, physics dictates a massive release of subatomic particles, specifically thermal neutrons.
Right, okay.
And when those neutrons bombard the nitrogen in the linen, they trigger a nuclear reaction called neutron activation. It literally ejects a proton and creates, new carbon-14 directly inside the cloth's molecular structure.
Oh, wow. So the radiation essentially spiked the sample with fresh carbon, making it look centuries younger mathematically.
Precisely. That's why recent researchers completely bypassed carbon dating. They used wide-angle X-ray scattering WXS to analyze the natural structural breakdown of the cellulose inside the threads.
And that gave them a different timeline.
It firmly matched the shroud's degradation to a verified first-century linen from the fortress of Masada, but the X-rays actually lead us to something even stranger.
I don't know how it gets stranger than a billion-watt burst.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, in 2025, an oral surgeon named Dr. John Sotosanti analyzed high-definition negatives of the shroud. He found the distinct outline of the subject's lower teeth visible right through the closed lips.
Wait, really? Lower teeth? So the subject didn't just emit light. Their biological body temporarily became like a transparent X-ray machine.
Yeah, the structural visibility confirms just that. The orthogonal radiation effectively made the body mechanically non-opaque. It imprinted both the external surface and internal anatomical structures at the exact same time.
Okay, so science gives us a blueprint for this massive body-penetrating energy burst.
Yeah.
But what I want to know is, how does a modern physics equation map mathematically onto ancient text describing it?
To figure that out, researchers used an advanced textual analysis system called SHIELD 14.0.
Right.
It analyzed over 34,211 biblical verses using cryptographic randomization to remove human bias. It wasn't just, searching for keywords. The algorithm looked at how specific concepts about light, bodies, and energy clustered together in the text.
And what did the algorithm actually find in those word clusters?
Extreme statistical anomalies. We're talking up to 5.33 sigma.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, patterns that are virtually impossible to be a coincidence. It mathematically mapped the concept of resurrection directly to intense physical radiance and the structural stabilization of a temple body, rather than just some ethereal spirit.
So it's not about becoming a ghost. It's a macro quantum phase shift, like upgrading your biological hardware to safely run a billion-watt operating system.
Exactly. For you listening, the synthesis destroys the old spirit versus matter dualism. It argues for an absolute continuity of personal identity. The physical matter isn't discarded, it's perfected.
Man. Okay, To wrap this all up, we have gone from excimer lasers and 200-nanometer scorch marks to anatomical transparency and algorithmic text analysis. It's a wild ride.
It is, and it leaves us with one highly provocative thought to ponder.
Lay it on us.
If biological matter is theoretically capable of undergoing this kind of massive macro-quantum phase shift, what does that imply about the latent higher dimensional potential resting quietly inside every carbon-based cell of your own body right now?
Turns out, you might be a lot more than just the subject of the photograph. You might just be the